Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing you some books that BookTube influenced me to read, and whether the good, the bad, and the ugly of those recommendations and the hype that I got for these books through BookTube. Some of them were amazing, some of them were okay, and some of them were horrible. All right, so let's start out with the Boys of Tommen series, Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. This was everywhere. I don't know if this is a book. Now I see it in the stores and everything, but I don't know if this is a book I really would have been exposed to if I wasn't on BookTube. So this is like a big series, very popular, quite a few books in it. I've read the first two books. I've read Binding 13 and Keeping 13. So it's basically a sports rugby romance with a lot of, I would say the first one and the second one are very different. I enjoyed Keeping 13 better. The hype on Binding 13 didn't quite live up to it, but it's basically about Johnny, who's a rugby player, kind of nursing a hidden injury because he doesn't want to be held back because of his injury. And then Shannon like the river, that has starting a new school because of being severely bullied and is dealing with a lot of trauma and a dangerous situation at home as well. So she's trying to pull her, just have a safe space at school and pull her life together. And these two meet, and yeah, there's an attraction, but there's a lot of obstacles and reasons that they should not pursue things. There's a great cast of characters, great cast of friends, and they all, a lot of them get their books later on, which I have not read those. And Shannon, her little brothers are really funny, but you don't really meet them well until I think Keeping 13. I would say that if you read Binding 13 and didn't it quite live up to the hype, keep reading. And because Keeping 13 is kind of what I thought Binding 13 was going to be. So I know they're very long books. They're longer than they need to be. So overall, so far, I've really liked the series. I've enjoyed it. At first, it didn't live up to the hype. I will be reading more. I will be reading more of the series for sure. The next book that I was totally influenced by BookTube is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. And this is a rich, elite, British society book series. So Magnolia Parks is the main character. Her name is Magnolia, last name Parks. And we find out right away that her and kind of the love of her life, BJ, have broken up off page 3 years ago. But they're still very close to each other. They're still dancing around this betrayal that happened and wanting to get back together, but there's no trust there and yada, yada, yada. So they have this cycle that goes on and on. And I've only read the first book in Magnolia Park, so I know the next one's the next character. They kind of go back and forth between Magnolia's story and then Daisy's story, which we meet her in Magnolia Parks briefly. Magnolia and BJ are kind of stuck in this toxic cycle where neither of them is moving forward and nothing's really getting resolved. And thankfully, some things start happening where things start moving along a bit. And but there's still a lot of the cycle, and not even wearing a different wig. The cycle is the same most every time. And then eventually at points the plot starts veering off to something interesting and new. But then someday it comes back to the same old thing. So yeah, I definitely had some bugaboos about this book, but I loved the drama. I loved the kind of soft kind of love square. There's more than two love interests really, which I loved. And yeah, it's just basically rich people problems really. And the thing that really annoyed me about this book though was that Daisy always goes through and names everything that people are wearing, all the designers. Someone walks up to you and says, "Hey," she's "He was wearing shirt, jacket, pants, shoes by this designer's." I'm okay, I get it. I get it that you're just so elite and so cool that you can just name what everybody's wearing, but every designer. Use some of that energy that you're using to name what everybody's wearing, some self-work maybe, Magnolia. So yeah, very good. Did have some bugaboos about it, but I don't think I would have been really exposed to this series, or really if I wasn't on BookTube. The next book that I was heavily influenced by BookTube is The Favorites by Layne Fargo. And honestly, I wish I hadn't been. I wish I hadn't been, because on paper, this is a on paper it was a 5-star read for me. And I went out and bought the hardcover before ever reading it. Rookie mistake. I bought it from an independent bookstore, so it's fine. I just wish I had bought a different book from them. But yeah, had everything I would have wanted in a book, ideally. Figure skating, obsessed. Love triangle, obsessed. Like, it had like everything that I would have really liked. Scandal, like kind of like them, like kind of like becoming public figures and dealing with that and everything. It was just so much about it. I was like, I have to just buy it because it's gonna be a 5-star read. It's gonna be like my favorite book of the year. Worst book of the year. Worst book of the year. Did not like it at all. I'm all for, so before I rant about it, I'm not gonna rant too much about it because I've ranted on this channel a bit about this book already. But so Katerina and Heath, Katerina is training and like clawing her way up into like in the ice dancing world, the competitive ice dancing world. And Heath is her like childhood friend who she's just kind of like dragging up with her. Like, you know, men are so like male partners are so hard to find that pretty much anyone will do if they can like skate. So that's kind of like, he's doing it because he's in love with her. They're in a relationship. They've been in relationships. They were like, you know, young teenagers. So they are competing. Things are getting like more serious. They're getting more attention. They kind of get involved, come in contact with a brother-sister team, and these 4 people and their mom, Katerina, really idolized. They all kind of get really enmeshed and entwined in each other's lives. There's betrayal, there's like abandonment, people disappear, people switch partners, secrets come out, and that's all great. On the page anyway. But when something happens, again, they can't talk spoilers, something happens and what the person is very regretful of the behavior that they did. And then things go on, but that person keeps repeating the behavior. And that behavior is really never addressed. By the time in the book where it's like, okay, like we need to like really flesh out this behavior, it turned into like a thriller, like sabotage, like, hey, look over there, look over here. And like, you know, people are sabotaging things instead of like dealing with what's going on between the characters. So there are 2 characters in here that I feel like are just not redeemable. They're just mean people. And like, I personally don't think there's anything redeemable about them. So I did not find them enjoyable to read about. So yeah, worst book of the year so far. Thanks, BookTube. The next book that I was influenced by BookTube, but not in the same way as the others, and I'll get to that in a second, is Cursed Kingdom by Ember Blackthorn. And this is a series, unfinished romantasy series of 4 books. I've read the first 2, trying to pace myself because I don't think there's any news on the 5th book. And yeah, so in one of my reading sprints, this is why I love my reading sprints and why you should love them too and come on in, is that I always ask when everybody's reading, we're always sharing what we're reading, and someone was saying they were reading this series. I think they were on the 2nd book and they were just going on about it. And I looked it up and I was like, ooh, that actually sounds pretty good. Reverse harem, my first reverse harem I've ever read. And it was free. The first book was free on Amazon. So I downloaded it. And then that next month, my prompt jar was most recent add to TBR. So I was like, oh, okay, Cursed Kingdom it is. And I loved it. There were a few little bugaboos that I had about it, but yeah, mostly loved it, loved all the characters, loved the reverse harem. So I've read the 2nd book, trying to pace myself for the 3rd book, and really, really loved it. I don't think it's a book I would have came across if it wasn't for my reading sprints and everybody like telling me what they were reading, because this person in my reading sprints let me know about it. So basically it's about a girl, her nickname is Goldie, and I don't like that nickname, but I can't remember what her actual name is at the moment. I tried to look it up, and like the description, it's like first person, so I don't remember. I can't figure out what her name is. But she gets invited. She lives like in a normal town, like kind of like a nobody, like a few years after college, and she gets invited to a masquerade ball at like the Crestwood like Manor, I think, and it's like these like 3 billionaire brothers that live there. Like they're like live in a mansion in town. She has no idea, like never met them, no idea why she's invited, but her friends that are like her online friends, because she loves fan fiction and she has like a lot of online friends, be like, you have to go. You have to report back. Like you have to go and see what this is all about. So she shows up, meets the brothers, and it turns out that she could be the key. The reason she was invited was she could be the key to breaking a curse. That they are in our world because of a curse, and she could be the key to breaking that. So an adventure ensues. And I like how the three brothers are very different, as they should be, but I think they're not different for the sake of it. I feel like it's just genuinely like who they are. And they're not like, they're brothers by choice. They're not brothers by blood. And yeah, they go on this adventure with this curse, and there's all kinds of like unique like creatures that I haven't really read in another like fantasy or romantasy, and like the settings that we go to, like the different towns and everything, all seem very vibrant, and I can like picture them very well. The like magic system and like the world building is digestible but feels entertaining. So it's not, it has to be so unique that you're like, what is going on? So I've like devoured the first 2 books, and I don't think I ever would have discovered them if it wasn't for my reading sprints. The last book for this video, that is a book that I was heavily influenced by BookTube, was The Rose Bargain by Sasha Peyton Smith. And I literally just finished this book last night. So I think it's supposed to be a duology. And I wish the second book was right now, because I absolutely loved it. Heavy selection vibes. If you liked the selection, you're going to like The Rose Bargain, and vice versa if you haven't read the selection series. So it's a very typical like princess trials, like in other books among the selection, princess trials. But basically I think it's like our world today, but England is kind of like isolated under like fairy rule, even though there are humans that live there, but it's ruled by a fairy queen. And basically every season, like when you come out for your season to like find a husband, you can make a bargain with the queen. But there's always a price. You can make yourself prettier, smarter, whatever. And basically women usually use this to attract kind of like a more advantageous match. Whether that's, yeah, like say making them look a different way or give them a talent or whatever. Like make them more attractive match for the marriage season. And so this our main character Ivy, it's her turn to do this, to like be presented to the queen. But there's like a twist this year, because the queen says that her son, Prince Bran, is going to choose a wife this season. And you can sign up to be considered to be his bride. It's his choice in the end, but you know, we have to like make sure, we have to like vet you and make sure you're like the right, you know, ilk. You have the right stuff to be his wife. And so yeah, Ivy, to like help her family, signs up for this. And yeah, so there's trials. Again, there's always the relationships between the girls themselves, the girls and the Prince Bram. And then Prince Bram has basically a stepbrother named Emmett, who is kind of like the perceived rake of the court. And he's all like involved in this situation as well. So I loved it, flew through it, loved it, 5 stars. I wish the next book was out. And I don't know if it really would have caught my attention. I mean, the cover's beautiful, like pink, pink, pink. It's so beautiful. But I might have just seen it and like glossed over it if I hadn't kept seeing it on BookTube. So those are the books that came to mind when I was thinking of me being heavily influenced by BookTube, and the books that maybe I wouldn't have been exposed to or picked up if I hadn't have kept seeing them on BookTube and people talking about them and raving about them. Mostly great. Mostly, I don't regret reading any of them, except for the favorites, which was like awful, hated it. All the others, I'm really glad that I read and will continue reading series that they're all part of. Overall, BookTube has been kind to me as far as like the hype and the recommendations, and it only burned me once, so that's not too bad. Leave in the comments below if you've read any of these and what you thought, or any other, let me know if there's any other books that you're like, I read this book because BookTube made me. I'd like to hear that. I'd like to hear what books those are. Subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to stop in to our reading and productivity sprints that we have about twice a week. And yeah, I wouldn't have found Cursing Kingdom if it wasn't for the reading and productivity sprint. So stop in there and you might find your next favorite read, who knows. In the description box below, you'll find my Goodreads, Bookstagram, wish list, yada, 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 all the books that I've mentioned today. And that's all for me. So I'll see you next time. Bye.